didn't plan this, but I thought I'd share this with you. Happy Labor Day to those of you that had the holiday today. Hope you had a good time. Uh, well, I was just studying a lot of lessons today. They gave me the day off, so I was learning a lot of new stuff and planning a lot of new things. So basically today, I'm going to address a movie that been out since 2007. I was watching it again today. There's three series of the movie. I would recommend that you watch all of them. But it's called Zeitgeist. All right, Zeitgeist is a movie that tried to destroy any trust that people have in religion, in government, and in money. All right, so it sets up to destroy those three main agencies that people trusted. And so a lot of people that are not grounded well in the religion, whether you are whether you're Baptist, Jewish, Catholic, or whatever, a lot of people that saw this movie for the first time didn't like it because it kind of shook their faith. It kind of make them wonder about the God that they believe in. Now, I did not find any difficulty with this movie because the question that he addresses is the very main thing that is overlooked. And those are the three main questions that religion, governments, and the monetary system have failed to address. That's why I'm the title of this right now. And for us to experience a very satisfied and constantly meaningful existence in the here and now, because that's what life is all about. We're here and now, and that's where we're always going to be. We're never going to be in the past. We're never going to be in the future. We're going to be in the here and now. So there's no way that we can acquire a system of belief that's going to have us be happy later on in the future, or hoping for things to get better later on. There's to be complete satisfaction in the here and now, and that's what the Torah addresses. And so we're going to hear a little bit. I'm going to be commenting, and so I'm not going to see the whole movie with you, but I'm going to see the portion about where he addresses religion. Now, some of you, this thing that was done, like I say, made a lot of people that were religious become atheists, by the way, because they were not fully grounded anyhow in the religion. They did not know the Torah the way that I've been teaching it to you. There's a purpose for the Torah. I teach the Torah to enjoy a fully meaningful and satisfied life in the here and now. All right, because that's what God is. God is in the here and now, and that's where we can appropriate our relationship with His mindset in the here and now, and that's what the whole Aleph Tab is all about. So I'm sharing this today. So let me put a little commercial here, I guess. I'll put a little commercial for today. Let me see. To remind us for this Wednesday. All right, so here we are then. Now we're going to be looking at, some of this. Well, next I'm going to be showing to you right now the movie. So let me go and get on the right window here so you can see it when I turn to that scene right now. Let me put it here first. So I have it here in my computer. I figured out how to share my portion of the screen, like a window, and put it into my OBS thing here. So that's new things that I'm learning how to use, So praise God for that. We're learning new things, to make life easy and comfortable for all of us, for you to learn something new, and for me to learn something new as I prepare for you as well. I learn a lot from it, believe me. I gain a great deal from doing this myself. In any event, so let me get to that window here, to the main plane. You can see it. All right, here we go. So now you can see. That's excellent. And you can see I'm in this window here. And you can see my mouse. That's pretty good. Excellent. All right. Now, I'm going to start it from the very beginning because I already had it going here. Let me just put it from the very beginning. put the volume here so you can hear it because it's going to be coming through my speaker. And I want to stop it from time to time and make a comment, okay? But he addresses these three institutions, which is for religion, government, and the money system. And he sees the way in which they are very deceitful, and they are. All of them are, in a way. There's real truth in the Torah, but a lot of these people, since they do everything for self-interest, that's how everything gets twisted, and nobody wins at the end that way. But I saw this movie a long time ago, and I've been wanting to share with you. Hopefully you'll get to see the 3 series on your own. But this is just to get you started, right? So let me put it here.
Spirituality is a particular term which actually means dealing with intuition in the
Let me stop here about that. He's beginning with the word spirituality, and he's trying to explain how to deal with intuition and stuff like that has to do with nothing, that can be tangible or something objective, but in the scriptures, let me say, ruach is the word for wind or air, okay? And when the creator, Eloheinu Adonai, when he speaks, is to present the functionality, okay? The behavior of air, okay? Air is a transparent molecule that can carry oxygen or can carry carbon monoxide, other gases, it's a carrier of gases. Oxygen is a gas, carbon monoxide is a gas. If it carries the appropriate gas, whether it is air, can bring life to all flesh. But if it carries, the wrong toxic gas in it, it can kill all flesh. So the air, spirit, as air, wind, okay? So it depends on what it is attached to, okay? So if it's attached to carry, the environment has loaded it with oxygen, then this air molecule takes that oxygen to all creatures and it brings life to all flesh. But if it's endowed by the environment with all kind of pollutants, then the air carries those pollutants and poisons all flesh. So it's according to what it receives. So you understand? So this is the function. So has the ability, if it's endowed with oxygen, it has ability, the air has the ability to expand, and wherever it goes has the ability to, give that oxygen out, because that's what it's carrying, and so it brings life. And so wherever it goes is enabled, okay, with this. So it has the function. So our soul has that ability that once it gets an understanding of certain things, we have it in us, and we just give it out, wherever we go, like the wind. No matter when the wind is, whatever it's carrying is giving. Okay, so we have the ability to function that way. Once we have the dabar in us, the word that is in us, he has the ability to apprehend and comprehend something, and that's what he's able to carry out, okay, and to present out into the world. All right, so let me keep going with this.
theistic tradition,
Theistic.
there's notion of clinging into a word. A certain act is regarded as displeasing to divine principles. A certain act is regarded as pleasing for the divine whatever. In the tradition of non-theism, however,
Non-theism.
it is very direct that the case history are not particularly important. What is actually important is here and now. Here and now.
Here and now.
Now is definitely now. We try to experience what is available there on the spot. There's no point in thinking that the past did exist that we could have now. This is now. This very moment. Nothing mystical, just now, very simple, straightforward. And from that nowness, however, arises a sense of intelligence, always, that you are constantly interacting with the reality, one by one, spot by spot, constantly. We actually experience fantastic precision always. But we are threatened by the now, so we jump to the past or the future. Paying attention to the materials that exist in our life, all these choices takes place all the time, but none of them are regarded as bad or good per se. Everything we experience are unconditional experience. They don't come along with a label by saying this is regarded as bad, this is good. But we experience them, but we don't actually pay heed to them properly. We don't actually regard that as that we are going somewhere. We regard that as a hassle, waiting to be dead. Waiting to be dead. Waiting to be dead. Waiting to be dead. That's the problem. And that is not trusting the nowness properly, that what is actually experienced now possess a lot of powerful things. It is so powerful that we can't face it. Therefore we have to borrow from the past, invite future all the time.
See, what he's saying is that since people have no point of reference, okay, as to what to guide them in this life, what is the purpose for which they have manifested themselves here. So when they face this here and now, you know, with all the things that are thrown at you and the way that it's presented to you, especially this retarded garden in comparison to Brazilian garden, and that you have to come into this environment and you grow here like a nobody, you are nothing, but you can apply yourself and become something. This is the mindset that you have to acquire when you enter. Your parents give it to you, your teachers give it to you, the TV, everybody gives you that mindset. You know, that you start as nobody, as nothing, but then you apply yourself, you can become somebody. Now that's a very dreadful way to begin life, you know, but that's how this social construct is given to you and is presented to you. So when you are entering into this environment, and that's what's given to you to start with as your point of reference, you know, that is very dreadful. So that's why people have to cling on to memories, take pictures of good times, you know, and save them and remember the good times, keep memories, you know, build memories and stuff like that, because they don't have anything good to guide them from the point of emptiness going on to acquiring something. So that's why people deal with what they plan on the future or what they saw in the past, and they don't know because what to do for the present time. Okay, so that's what he's addressing in this portion here. So people either go to the present because it's too dreadful to not to have an answer to the near or here and now, so they have to go back and forth.
And maybe that's why we seek religion. Maybe that's why we march in the street.
Protest.
Maybe that's why we complain to the society.
Getting answers.
Maybe that's why we vote for the presidents. It's quite ironical. Very funny indeed.
Zeitgeist. Zeitgeist, I believe that means a sign of the times. Okay. I think it's a German word if I'm not mistaken. Zeitgeist.
The more you begin to investigate what we think we understand, where we came from, what we think we're doing, the more you begin to see we've been lied to. We've been lied to by every institution. What makes you think for 1 minute that the religious institution is the only one that's never been touched? The religious institutions of this world are at the bottom of the dirt. The religious institutions in this world are put there by the same people who gave you your government, your corrupt education, to set up your international banking cartels. We have been misled away from the true and divine presence in the universe that men have called God. I don't know what God is, but I know what he isn't. And unless and until you are prepared to look at the whole truth, wherever it may go, whoever it may lead to, the more you educate yourself, the more you understand where things come from, the more obvious things become, and you begin to see lies everywhere. You have to know the truth and seek the truth, and the truth will set you free.
They must find it difficult, those who have taken authority as the truth, rather than the truth as the authority. That's Hazy, an Egyptologist.
Because I gotta tell you the truth, folks. I gotta tell you the truth.
It gets funny here, but we'll see.
When it comes to bullshit, big time, major league bullshit, you have to stand in awe of the all-time champion of false promises and exaggerated claims, religion. Think about it. Religion has actually convinced people that there's an invisible man living in the sky who watches everything you do every minute of every day. And the invisible man has a special list of 10 things he does not want you to do. And if you do any of these 10 things, he has a special place full of fire and smoke and burning and torture and anguish where he will send you to live and suffer and burn and choke and scream and cry forever and ever till the end of time. But he loves you. He loves you and he needs money. He always needs money. He's all powerful, all perfect, all knowing, and all wise. Somehow just can't handle money. Religion takes in billions of dollars, they pay no taxes, and they always need a little more. Now, you talk about a good bullshit story. Holy shit.
Okay, let me take a little break here to address what's going on here. Let me put my question from the beginning here, and then we'll get back to this in a little while. Let me see here. Give me a second. Yeah, let me put it here. Today's portrait. This is where I had the questions. Okay. So, Let me see how you guys are. Let me see if anybody's here. 1 second. Want to see. A second. Oh, some of you are here. All right. Hello, Rosa, Andy. You guys are here. Okay. With the win. All right. I'm glad you guys were able to join me. So what we're looking at is that, the way to look at the answer, because we need, God is in the here and now. God is every moment. He's outside of time, inside of time, through time, and in all things He is there because His character is unchangeable. And all we need to do is line up with His character and be with Him at all times. And that's the whole idea of gathering. Hey, hi Marita. Yeah, good to have you, Marita. Good to have you. Yeah, okay. So that's what we're looking at. This is a movie that a lot of people became atheists when they saw it because it presented a lot of things that shook their faith. Okay, and it's okay if your faith gets shaken by this. That means you didn't have a strong faith to begin with, so might as well be shaken if it's that weak. Okay, but this is what the Torah addresses. The Torah addresses for you to have a mindset and a relationship of full satisfaction in the here and now. So these are what I'm saying. These are the three questions. I'm going to put it here. So I will read it better. Let me get in the way here. So the three main questions religions, governments, and the monetary system have failed to address for us to experience a very satisfying and constantly meaningful existence in the here and now. Because we hear all the religions, they offer you a heaven if you behave, and if you do so bad, if you watch from bad habits, bad vices, don't hang with the wrong crowds and stuff like that. So behave like a good boy or girl here, and then something good awaits you in the future when you croak or when you die. The whole idea is while you're living, what's the point of it? While you're living, you got to be in unison and complete harmony, in sync with your words, and journey has to be in sync with your Maker, so that every moment and every second of your existence is full of meaning and full satisfaction. Okay, understanding what you stand for. So let me take this and put the questions in the back here. Let me remove this one here. Let me see if I can see this. Okay, I can put it to the back. I think I can do this. Move to the back, order to the back. Yeah, let me do this. Move down. All right, move down. Okay. So it didn't move. I'll move all the way to the bottom, I think. The order down. That way I can tell you what's. I'm sorry, I'm not getting it. Oh. Well, it's not getting it right here. Okay, I think this is it. My mistake. I'm sorry for not being prepared for this, but okay. Here are the questions. All right. So the three questions are, because what the thing is to find out what are you made of, okay? And most of you think you're made of this body of flesh, and that's fine. You have a body of flesh, okay? But mainly what is inside of you, the knowledge that you receive. Your parents gave you the name, so the bar, the words, the bar is word for Hebrew, began to give you an understanding of who you are by a name that was given to you. Then you were taught certain things to do and to follow as you grew up. So the word was being formed and developing a concept of what you are in this world. So in the end, you have to realize that what you really are is a whole bunch of words that have been piled inside of you, giving you a certain identity by which you connect to this environment. So you know to call this your body of flesh. And you know to call your friends who they are by their name and stuff like that. So there's a way by this, but we're basically the dabar that we receive, the word of instructions that tells us who we are, what we're supposed to be, what families we came from, who our relatives, who we connect with. So this set of words that are in us and are put in us, that constitutes, this amalgamation, this formation of all these ideas in us, that constitutes who we are. So we're mainly beings that are being formed and made up and develop an identity and an emotional character and all that through the words that we have received. And when you go to study software and everything, you find out identities and all these things that are creating in artificial intelligence. All of that is a program. It's all made out of programs. Okay, so it's all that's about is words. So that's what you are. So when you begin to grow in the concept of understanding words, what are words capable of doing, then you grow in awe of what God did with words, because God created this magnificent order, right? This magnificent creation. All right. So the main thing you got to ask yourself is, who is my, because if you realize my main body is made out of words. There's this body of flesh, but then because a body means many parts working as one in unison, like a body is made out of extremities, a head, and all this, all of it put together and working as one. That's what makes it a body. There's also the student body. That's all the people in the school. That's a student body. It's a group of things. The body of oceans. That's all the oceans. So the body is just a group of things working together as one. So also you have a body of revelation, which means it's all the words and understanding and concepts and definitions that are inside of you that make sense of the world that surrounds you and the world around you. So this body of revelation, which is made out of words, ideas, concepts, definitions, and meaningfulness, all these words is what should become the most important thing to you. Because you understand, if you have the right understanding of everything, you will connect with everything in the world, and you will understand how everything sails, how everything works. You will not be necessarily worried for whatever else is worrying, because it's not that important to you. But if you value that the best asset that mankind has is words, because with words he has created all the 7 or 8 wonders of the world, all those things were put together by words. He created pyramids, he created things from a long time ago, and all these things were formed by words. If we understand that, and then if we want the best for this body of words, and then we're looking to make this body of words be the most useful body that you will ever be able to employ here, because it is in the order that you keep it that you're going to bring the greatest good to mankind. The greatest good is not going to come from the body of flesh. Your body of flesh might become very good with motor skills, that you can be a great gymnast, the greatest person that skates and all kinds of things with this body. But basically, to give instructions, to lead societies, to lead the world, in the right direction, you're going to need the right words to give them. So when you understand that word is the word, that the body is the greatest thing that you have, then you're in love with the mindset of, you acquire the mindset of God. God is in love with words, because with words, he makes everything, and he sustains and he maintains everything. So therefore, when you get to that same level and that same understanding, because then you begin to ask yourself this question. Question number 1, who is my indestructible and suitable mate? Because you're looking for an indestructible and suitable mate for the dabar that is in you. And that will be the book of instructions, the right instructions that will make you to be the most altruistic human being. Like the T.O.R.A.H stands for Teachings Orderly Rendering Altruistic Humans. Humans that are selfless. Humans that think always of creation. That's right, that want to project the mindset of the maker. Okay? So that's why, because if you estimate the greatest theme that you have in your life is for the word and the dabar in you, and you want to do the best for it, that's who you're looking for. Who is my indestructible and suitable mate, my companion? It will be the Torah, because the Torah, understanding it from the root of the words and how it is to take care of words that is given, they will develop that passion and love for order of things. And we are here always to serve men, and that's our treasure, that we become useful in all things. Okay, so if we want to do that for the dabar, to present it in such a high way that everybody admires the dabar, that's what you're looking for. The word that will make you be that kind of a complete mindset of completeness. So there's nothing you need from your fellow man, but you just need to shine with the splendor of the understanding that is in you to be of help, to him or her. And then number 2, what is my inexhaustible treasure with unextinguishable value? Then you see, words become the true treasure, because words is the kind of value or treasure that you give away and you still have it. 1 million people come in here, you give them all your knowledge and you haven't lost it. You keep it, and all of them, 1 million people have it. So it's an inexhaustible treasure. It's unextinguishable value. It doesn't lose value. Okay, and number 3, where is my immeasurable, overpowering gladness? Because once you know that you have the greatest body that you have is made out of words, the body of revelation, and you know where to get the mindset for it, so that you can present it to this world in the highest way possible, and then you understand that you have an inexhaustible riches, then automatically people become completely, happy all the time, full of joy. In the presence of this understanding, you understand, because this is the kind of treasure that cannot be taken. It cannot be stolen from you. People want you to give it. You can give it to them if you want. but you don't lose it because it's still with you. So that's the great when you walk in that awareness. But when the whole thing is set up, because this guy that made this movie, there's three parts of this movie. There are three parts of this. This is the first movie that he made, and there are two more after that. But he himself wants some physical comfort. He wants to make a heaven here on earth. So he's still being delayed and stopped because of the monetary system. He says those are holding us back, and they say religion is holding you back. So even though he talks at the very beginning that we need to have something for here and now, he's still caught up in the same thing that everybody else is. So you're going to hear him right now. He's going to start tearing up Christianity, tearing up Jewish, tearing up all the religions right now, But that's okay if he can tear them up, because if those religions not addressing for you to have the mindset of the Aleph, Beth, and the here and now, it's not worth it for you to have followed and wasted your time all this time in there. Because the bar should have been addressed from the very beginning, that they should have been giving you the mindset of the Aleph, Beth, so you will be satisfied every second of the day that you go, because you're always in the here and now. You're never in the past, you're never in the future. So in the here and now, you want to have this relationship, okay? So let me go back to what we were saying here. Let me put back here to the movie again, and let me go here back, so I can put you back where I was, so we can look at this again. All right, let me go back here, main plane. All right, so let me keep going. So now you understand. So now he's going to start talking about religion and tearing it apart. Okay, so here we go.
This is the sun. As far back as 10,000 BC, history is abundant with carvings and writings reflecting people's respect and adoration for this object. And it is simple to understand why, as every morning the sun would rise, bringing vision, warmth, and security, saving man from the cold, blind, predator-filled darkness of night. Without it, the cultures understood the crops would not grow and life on the planet would not survive. These realities made the sun the most adored object of all time. Likewise, they were also very aware of the stars. The tracking of the stars allowed them to recognize and anticipate events which occurred over long periods of time, such as eclipses and full moons. They in turn cataloged celestial groups into what we know today as constellations. This is the cross of the zodiac, one of the oldest conceptual images in human history. It reflects the sun as it figuratively passes through the 12 major constellations over the course of a year. It also reflects the 12 months of the year, the 4 seasons, and the solstices and equinoxes. The term zodiac relates to the fact that constellations were anthropomorphized, or personified as figures or animals. In other words, the early civilizations did not just follow the sun and stars, they personified them with elaborate myths involving their movements and relationships. The sun, with its life-giving and saving qualities, was personified as a representative of the unseen creator or God, God's son, the light of the world, the savior of humankind. Likewise, the 12 constellations represented places of travel for God's son, and were identified by names, usually representing elements of nature that happened during that period of time. For example, Aquarius, the water bearer, who brings the spring rains. This is Horus. He is the sun god of Egypt of around 3000 BC. He is the sun anthropomorphized, and his life is a series of allegorical myths involving the sun's movement in the sky. From the ancient hieroglyphics in Egypt, we know much about this solar messiah. For instance, Horus, being the sun or the light, had an enemy known as Set, and Set was the personification of the darkness or night. And, metaphorically speaking, every morning Horus would win the battle against Set, while in the evening Set would conquer Horus and send him into the underworld. It is important to note that dark versus light, or good versus evil, is one of the most ubiquitous mythological dualities ever known, and is still expressed on many levels to this day. Broadly speaking, the story of Horus is as follows. Horus was born on December 25th of the Virgin Isis Mary.
There
His
is
birth
similarities.
was accompanied by a star in the east, and upon his birth he was adored by 3 kings. At the age of 12, he was a prodigal child teacher, and at the age of 30, he was baptized by a figure known as Anup, and thus began his ministry. Horus had 12 disciples he traveled about with, performing miracles such as healing the sick and walking on water. Horus was known by many gestural names such as the Truth, the Light, God's Anointed Son, the Good Shepherd, the Lamb of God, and many others. After being betrayed by Typhon, Horus was crucified, buried for 3 days, and thus resurrected. These attributes of Horus, whether original or not, seem to permeate many cultures of the world, for many other gods are found to have the same general mythological structure. Attis of Phrygia, born of the Virgin Nana on December 25th, crucified, placed in a tomb, and after 3 days was resurrected. Krishna of India, born of the Virgin Devaki, with a star in the east signaling his coming. He performed miracles with his disciples, and upon his death was resurrected. Dionysius of Greece, born of a virgin on December 25th, was a traveling teacher who performed miracles such as turning water into wine. He was referred to as the King of Kings, God's only begotten Son, the Alpha and Omega, and many others. And upon his death, he was resurrected. Mithra of Persia, born of a virgin on December 25th, he had 12 disciples and performed miracles, and upon his death was buried for 3 days and thus resurrected. He was also referred to as the Truth, the Light, and many others. Interestingly, the sacred day of worship of Mithra was Sunday. The fact of the matter is, there are numerous saviors from different periods from all over the world which subscribe to these general characteristics. The question remains, why these attributes? Why the virgin birth on December 25th? Why dead for 3 days in the inevitable resurrection? Why 12 disciples or followers? To find out.
Okay. So, this is people that have done their research. They read the tablets, the legends of Gilgamesh, and all the other stuff that has come out from different cultures. And there's a lot of similarities. If you are just brought up as a Christian, you maybe thought that this was only unique about Christ. But you find out, when you study all culture, that there's a lot of similarities in a lot of them. And even some of the fathers of the church, like Justin, you'll hear him quote in a little while, that they knew that there were some similarities with Jesus and other deities that they believe in, and they wanted the other people that they were writing letters to understand him from that point of view. But you'll get to see it in a minute. But there's a lot of stuff that you're going to find out. But the thing is, one thing that I recommend, that if you really want to know what the Messiah is supposed to be, because the concept of the Messiah, it wasn't the Christians who came up with the concept of the Messiah. The concept of the Messiah comes from the Jewish faith. Okay, they are the ones that speak of a Messiah that they're waiting for. Okay, and there's a specific thing that the Messiah needs to do. The Messiah is not necessarily going to do miracles. He doesn't say anything about this Messiah doing miracles. He doesn't say anything about this Messiah resurrecting from the dead. Okay. You gotta understand, that's where it all comes from. That's why a lot of Jewish people don't go for the Christian Messiah. Well, what Christian, by the way, is Messiah for Greek. Christos just means anointed one, and that's Messiah just means anointed. So when you say that there's so many millions of Christians in the world, there's millions of Messiahs, because you're taking the name of being a Messiah. But the thing is, so there's a lot of things. So you're gonna have to study, the Hebrew, and understand what is the concept of what is this Messiah supposed to do? What is their main? That's one of the tenets of their faith, of the 13 tenets of their faith, that they have to believe in the coming of the Messiah. That's what they strongly believe in. But they don't believe that the Messiah is supposed to be any sort of deity. They don't believe that the Messiah is supposed to be a God. Okay, but it all started, Now, the Roman had a way of making their emperors that were born with, like flesh. Eventually, when they die, they were gods, or become sons of gods. And so the Greek have a lot of this mindset of making man that was born of flesh and eventually just become, they become deities. So a lot of that mythology, spread into Christianity. Paul brought a lot of that into it. Okay, and another thing you need to know about Paul, Paul was not, there were 12 disciples that saw Christ, and Paul only had a religious experience and saw him his religious experience, but he's the one started writing before anybody else. The first writings were from the Thessalonians, and he was started by Paul. Paul first wants to start writing epistles and stuff like that. Later on, maybe 15 or 20 years later, then the book of Mark came first. It's set up as Matthew, Mark, but the Mark was written first, and then Matthew and Luke copy a lot of it, a lot of the narrative from that. And the last one that was made was the Gospel of John. But understand, Mark, he wasn't even a disciple. He hung around with the disciples. He wasn't one counted as a disciple. But Matthew was a disciple, and John was a disciple. So the gospel will be from two disciples will be Matthew and John, because Luke was a physician that came around helping Paul. So you'll understand all the things. But the ones that started writing, the first one that started writing epistles was Paul. So Paul has a lot of control over Christianity, and a lot of what Christianity is believed to be, comes from a lot of Paulinian thinking. Okay, but we understand that he had a lot of conflict with the church too, because they were accusing him that he was departing from the original Torah and teaching new traditions, to disregard circumcision, to disregard all these things. And he will say, no, I'm not doing that in front of him. In the book of Acts, you can see that. But then later on in his epistle, he said that was not necessarily, now we're with Christ, we're a new creature. But he has this way of being a chameleon. He even said, I'll become all things to all men, that by all means I may win some. So that means he was willing to change things for different audiences. He had that kind of a character. But in any case, you will understand these things. There's a lot of inconsistencies. And so these guys are starting to bear down, and you're going to see what he's trying to tell you. So don't be dismayed, because in the end, these people make fun of everything, but they themselves don't have the answers either. That's why I was laughing when I saw this whole 3 series. In the end, I thought he was going to, he finds fault with everything, which is okay. It's fun. He seems to find fault, and there are great faults in there. But then you don't have the answer. So at the end, you look like the biggest fool. Okay, but in any case, here we go.
Let's examine the most recent of the solar messiahs. Jesus Christ was born of the Virgin Mary on December 25th in Bethlehem. His birth was announced by a star in the east, which 3 kings or magi followed to locate and adorn the new Savior. He was a child teacher at 12. At the age of 30, he was baptized by John the Baptist, and thus began his ministry. Jesus had 12 disciples, which he traveled about with, performing miracles such as healing the sick, walking on water, raising the dead. He was also known as the King of Kings, the Son of God, the Light of the World, the Alpha and Omega, the Lamb of God, and many, many others. After being betrayed by his disciple Judas and sold for 30 pieces of silver, he was crucified, placed in a tomb, and after 3 days was resurrected and ascended into heaven. First of all, the birth sequence is completely astrological. The star in the east is Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, which, on December 24th, aligns with the 3 brightest stars in Orion's belt. These 3 bright stars in Orion's belt are called today what they were called in ancient times, the 3 kings. And the 3 kings and the brightest star, Sirius, all point to the place of the sunrise on December 25th. This is why the 3 kings follow the star in the east, in order to locate the sunrise, the birth of the sun. The Virgin Mary is the constellation Virgo, also known as Virgo the Virgin. Virgo in Latin means virgin. Virgo is also referred to as the house of bread, and the representation of Virgo is a virgin holding a sheaf of wheat. This house of bread and its symbol of wheat represents August and September, the time of harvest. In turn, Bethlehem, in fact, literally translates to house of bread. Bethlehem is thus a reference to the constellation Virgo, a place in the sky, not on Earth. There's another very interesting phenomenon that occurs around December 25th, or the winter solstice. From the summer solstice to the winter solstice, the days become shorter and colder. And from the perspective of the northern hemisphere, the sun appears to move south and get smaller and more scarce. The shortening of the days and the expiration of the crops when approaching the winter solstice symbolize the process of death to the ancients. It was the death of the sun. And by December 22nd, the sun's demise was fully realized, for the sun, having moved south continually for 6 months, makes it to its lowest point in the sky. Here a curious thing occurs. The sun stops moving south, at least perceivably, for 3 days. And during this 3-day pause, the sun resides in the vicinity of the Southern Cross, or Crux, constellation. And after this time, on December 25th, the sun moves 1 degree, this time north, foreshadowing longer days, warmth, and spring. And thus it was said, the sun died on the cross, was dead for 3 days, only to be resurrected or born again. This is why Jesus and numerous other sun gods share the crucifixion, 3-day death, and resurrection concept. It is the sun's transition period before it shifts its direction back into the northern hemisphere, bringing spring and thus salvation. However, they do not celebrate the resurrection of the sun until the spring equinox, or Easter. This is because at the spring equinox, the sun officially overpowers the evil darkness, as daytime thereafter becomes longer in duration than the night, and the revitalizing conditions of spring emerge. Now, probably the most obvious of all the astrological symbolism around Jesus regards the 12 disciples. They are simply the 12 constellations of the zodiac, which Jesus, being the sun, travels about with. In fact, the number 12 is replete throughout the Bible. Coming back to the cross of the zodiac, the figurative life of the sun, this was not just an artistic expression or tool to track the sun's movement. It was also a pagan spiritual symbol, the shorthand of which looked like this. This is not a symbol of Christianity. It is a pagan adaptation of the cross of the zodiac. This is why Jesus in early occult art is always shown with his head on the cross, for Jesus is the Son of God, the light of the world, the risen Savior who will come again, as it does every morning, the glory of God who defends against the works of darkness, as he is born again every morning and can be seen coming in the clouds, up in heaven, with his crown of thorns or sun rays. Now, of the many astronomical metaphors in the Bible, one of the most important has to do with the ages. Throughout the scriptures, there are numerous references to the age. In order to understand this, we need to be familiar with a phenomenon known as the precession of the equinoxes. The ancient Egyptians, along with cultures long before them, recognized that approximately every 2150 years, the sunrise on the morning of the spring equinox would occur in a different sign of the zodiac. This has to do with a slow, angular wobble that the Earth maintains as it rotates on its axis. It is called a precession because the constellations go backwards rather than through the normal yearly cycle. The amount of time it takes for the precession to go through all 12 signs is roughly 25,765 years. This is also called the Great Year, and ancient societies were very aware of this, and they referred to each 2150-year period as an age. From 4300 BC to 2150 BC, it was the age of Taurus, the bull. From 2150 BC to 1 AD, it was the age of Aries, the ram. And from 1 AD to 2150 AD, it is the age of Pisces, the age we are still in to this day. And in and around 2150, we will enter the new age, the age of Aquarius. Now, the Bible reflects, broadly speaking, a symbolic movement through 3 ages while foreshadowing a 4th. In the Old Testament, when Moses comes down Mount Sinai with the 10 Commandments, he is very upset to see his people worshiping a golden bull calf. In fact, he shattered the stone tablets and instructed his people to kill each other in order to purify themselves. Most biblical scholars will attribute this anger to the fact that the Israelites were worshiping a false idol or something to that effect. The reality is, the golden bull is Taurus the bull, and Moses represents the new age of Aries the ram. This is why Jews even today still blow the ram's horn. Moses represents the new age of Aries, and upon the new age, everyone must shed the old age. Other deities mark these transitions as well, such as Mithra, a pre-Christian god who kills the bull in the same symbology. Now Jesus is the figure who ushers in the age following Aries, the age of Pisces, or the two fish. Fish symbolism is very abundant in the New Testament. Jesus feeds 5,000 people with bread and 2 fish. When he begins his ministry walking along Galilee, he befriends 2 fishermen who follow him. And I think we have all seen the Jesus fish on the back of people's cars. Little do they know what it actually means. It is a pagan astrological symbolism for the sun's kingdom during the age of Pisces. Also, Jesus' assumed birth date is essentially the start of this age. At Luke 22:10, when Jesus is asked by his disciples where the last Passover would be, Jesus replies, "Behold, when ye are entered into the city, there shall a man meet you, bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house where he entereth in." This scripture is by far one of the most revealing of all the astrological references. The man bearing the pitcher of water is Aquarius, the water bearer, who is always pictured as a man pouring out a pitcher of water. He represents the age after Pisces, and when the sun, God's son, leaves the age of Pisces, Jesus, it will go into the house of Aquarius, as Aquarius follows Pisces in the precession of the equinoxes. All Jesus is saying is that after the age of Pisces will come the age of Aquarius. Now, we have all heard about the end times and the end of the world. The cartoonish depictions in the book of Revelation aside, the main source of this idea comes from Matthew 28:20, where Jesus says, "I will be with you even to the end of the world." However, in the King James Version, world is a mistranslation, among many mistranslations. The actual word being used is eon, which means age. I will be with you even to the end of the age, which is true, as Jesus' solar Piscean personification will end when the sun enters the age of Aquarius. The entire concept of end times and the end of the world is a misinterpreted astrological allegory. Let's tell that to the approximately 100 million people in America who believe the end of the world is coming. Furthermore, the character of Jesus being a literary and astrological hybrid is most explicitly a plagiarization of the Egyptian sun god Horus. For example, inscribed about 3,500 years ago on the walls at the Temple of Luxor in Egypt are images of the Annunciation, the miracle conception, the birth, and the adoration of Horus. The images begin with Thoth announcing to the Virgin Isis that she will conceive Horus, then Neph, the Holy Ghost, impregnating the Virgin, and then the virgin birth and the adoration. This is exactly the story of Jesus' miracle conception. In fact, the literary similarities between the Egyptian religion and the Christian religion are staggering. And the plagiarism is continuous. The story of Noah and Noah's Ark is taken directly from tradition. The concept of the Great Flood is ubiquitous throughout the ancient world, with over 200 cited claims in different periods and times. However, one need look no further for a pre-Christian source than the Epic of Gilgamesh, written in 2600 BC. This story talks of a great flood commanded by God, an ark with saved animals upon it, and even the release and return of a dove, all held in common with the biblical story, among many other similarities. And then there is the plagiarized story of Moses. Upon Moses' birth, it is said that he was placed in a reed basket and set adrift in a river in order to avoid infanticide. He was later rescued by a daughter of royalty and raised by her as a prince. This baby in a basket story was lifted directly from the myth of Sargon of Akkad of around 2250 BC. Sargon was born, placed in a reed basket in order to avoid infanticide, and set adrift in a river. He was in turn rescued and raised by Aki, a royal midwife. Furthermore, Moses is known as the lawgiver, the giver of the Ten Commandments, the Mosaic Law. However, the idea of a law being passed from God to a prophet up on a mountain is also a very old motif. Moses is just another lawgiver in a long line of lawgivers in mythological history. In India, Manu was the great lawgiver. In Crete, Minos ascended Mount Dicta, where Zeus gave him the sacred laws, while in Egypt there was Meses, who carried stone tablets, and upon them the laws of God were written. Manu, Minos, Meses, Moses. And as far as the Ten Commandments, they are taken outright from spell 125 in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. What the Book of the Dead phrased, "I have not stolen," became "Thou shalt not steal." "I have not killed," became "Thou shalt not kill." "I have not told lies," became "Thou shalt not bear false witness," and so forth. In fact, the Egyptian religion is likely the primary foundational basis for the Judeo-Christian theology. Baptism, afterlife, final judgment, virgin birth, death and resurrection, crucifixion, the Ark of the Covenant, circumcision, saviors, Holy Communion, Great Flood, Easter, Christmas, Passover, and many, many more are all attributes of Egyptian ideas long predating Christianity and Judaism. Justin Martyr, one of the first Christian historians and defenders, wrote, "When we say that he, Jesus Christ, our teacher, was produced without sexual union, was crucified and died and rose again and ascended into heaven, we propound nothing different from what you believe regarding those who you esteem sons of Jupiter." In a different writing, Justin Martyr said, "He was born of a virgin, accept this in common with what you believe of Perseus." It's obvious that Justin and other early Christians knew how similar Christianity was to the pagan religions. However, Justin had a solution. As far as he was concerned, the devil did it. The devil had the foresight to come before Christ and create his characteristics in the pagan world.
Fundamentalist Christianity, fascinating. These people actually believe the world is 12,000 years old. Swear to God. I actually asked one of these guys, okay, dinosaur fossils. He says, dinosaur fossils? God put those here to test our faith. I think God put you here to test my faith, dude.
The Bible is nothing more than an astrotheological literary hybrid, just like nearly all religious myths before it. In fact, the aspect of transference of one character's attributes to a new character can be found within the book itself. In the Old Testament, there is the story of Joseph. Joseph was a prototype for Jesus. Joseph was born of a miracle birth. Jesus was born of a miracle birth. Joseph was of 12 brothers. Jesus had 12 disciples. Joseph was sold for 20 pieces of silver. Jesus was sold for 30 pieces of silver. Brother Judah suggests the sale of Joseph. Disciple Judas suggests the sale of Jesus. Joseph began his work at the age of 30. Jesus began his work at the age of 30. The parallels go on and on. Furthermore, is there any non-biblical historical evidence of any person living with the name Jesus, the son of Mary, who traveled about with 12 followers, healing people and the like? There are numerous historians who lived in and around the Mediterranean, either during or soon after the assumed life of Jesus. How many of these historians document this figure? Not one. However, to be fair, that doesn't mean defenders of the historical Jesus haven't claimed the contrary. 4 historians are typically referenced to justify Jesus' existence. Pliny the Younger, Suetonius, and Tacitus are the first 3. Each one of their entries consists of only a few sentences at best, and only refer to Christus or the Christ, which in fact is not a name but a title. It means the Anointed One. The 4th source is Josephus, and this source has been proven to be a forgery for hundreds of years. Sadly, it is still cited as truth. You'd think that a guy who rose from the dead and ascended into heaven for all eyes to see and performed the wealth of miracles acclaimed to him would have made it into the historical record. It didn't, because once the evidence is weighed, there are very high odds that the figure known as Jesus did not even exist.
What it says there by Thomas Paine. The Christian religion is a parody on the worship of the sun, in which they put a man called Christ in the place of the sun and pay him the adoration originally paid to the sun. This was said by Thomas Paine, who lived from 1737 to 1809. But in any case, there's more stuff that goes in there, but you can see he's just tearing everything to pieces, comparing everything to something, so you don't see that everything is original just to Christianity. There's a lot of parallels with other things. Okay, so let me see, make sure I'm going. Okay, so that's the main thing that I'm trying to convey here, to make you understand that, okay, there's a way in which religions have control the masses, with future promises of having, some contact with the divine, or with a heavenly place, or all stuff like that, and I believe in those. I believe there's a heaven, I believe there's a hell, I believe in all these things. But basically what I'm understanding from the Hebrew text, from the ancient, because there's stories in the Bible, but behind each letter there's a way to tell you to respect the order of words. That is basically what he's teaching. Okay, and that's what I found that is the truth. The truth is that for everything created, like the fifth book of the Bible, Hadabarim, was Deuteronomy, and in Greek, Deuteronomy means twice the law, but Hadabarim means the words, because it's dabar, plural, dabarim, and also words in Hebrew means things. So things and words are one and the same. Okay, so that's the one thing that you understand from the perspective of Moses. When God was giving the word, he never separates a thing from the word. The word and the thing itself, that's the reality. Everything that's formed in the dust, like the car that is made out of the metals of the dust, that's dust in motion. So it's like a shadow of the thing. It's the shape of the thing. It's like a shadow. It's an image of the thing. But the real thing is the word itself. So the word and the thing are one and the same. So you see, so everything else is just dust in motion that is being, set up in motion because instructions, and nobody attests to this more than all the people that make a patent. People that make cars, computers, and everything, they write a patent, right? And that patent is not for sale. The product, the computer that is made out of the metals and the things to assemble it together, the car that is made out of the metals, all of that is for sale. And you can go and call it your own. But the patent that is made out of words, that's the real thing. That's the little baby that made them rich. That's not for sale. That's going to be safely guarded. Nobody can touch that because that's intellectual property. And so they know that intellectual property is what gives them exclusivity as owners. And that's the real thing. That's the real car. That's the real computer. So the word, that the blueprints, the schematics, the floor plan, everything, all those are the real houses. All those are the real buildings. All the engineering blueprints, everything, that's the real machines. Everything is in the word. And so you never separate that. And the Bible has that mindset, you see. And so when you're looking at just dust in motion, your view is very dim, weak. Dust in motion. That's what God. So the world is cut up because they're enamored with all the dust in motion. Even our bodies are dust in motion. We maneuver and have this body and keep it going because of the DNA that God placed in it. That's a code that God wrote for each one of us, and that DNA communicates with each cell to reproduce and everything like that. But everything else, we share cells, we get new ones, and we're constantly sharing new ones. We're in constant motion. It's dust in motion. We're feeding it in and we're losing cells and gaining new ones. So the dust is in motion, okay? And it has a particular thing to do to keep a body. But also what we need to acquire therefore is something that is not going to go away, and that is the mindset of completeness that is found in the Torah. For us to enjoy it now, to have that respect, that reality is the word of the Creator, and the word itself is the thing, and everything else that is formed in this, it's nothing but dust in motion. Our bodies are dust in motion. Everything is dust in motion, and you're caught up in that. That's what this whole world loses it. I guess this whole world, all retarded gardens, they just teach you to stay in that mindset and to go after the dust in motion, to go after cars, to go after jewelry, to go after titles, to go after everything, to be somebody in the retarded garden, And so when you grow up as a little baby and you're inculcated with all these ideas, you automatically think that is the reality of everything. But it's the mindset of your maker, And one thing that I had to go to deprogram myself from all these fastings that I've done, and discovering that my body can be so economical, doesn't need to eat 3 meals a day. One is enough. Or if I want to lose weight, then eat every other 2 days, and I lose weight. Just as simple as that. And I know how, and my body's not craving food. So everything, when you find out the completeness of your body, it just becomes very fantastic. Now, there's more stuff that this guy has to say, but I'm just going to play about 5 more minutes, and then I'm going to wrap it up because I'm not going to take it too long because I got to start working tomorrow at 5, and then I want to upload this to YouTube as well. But let me play a little bit, 5 more minutes of this.
We don't want to be unkind, but we want to be factual. We don't want to cause hurt feelings, but we want to be academically correct in what we understand and know to be true. Christianity just is not based on truth. We find that Christianity was in fact nothing more than a Roman story developed politically.
The reality is, Jesus was the solar deity of the Gnostic Christian sect. And like all other pagan gods, he was a mythical figure. It was the political establishment that sought to historize the Jesus figure for social control. In 325 AD in Rome, Emperor Constantine convened the Council of Nicaea. It was during this meeting that the politically motivated Christian doctrines were established, and thus began a long history of religious bloodshed and spiritual fraud. And for over the next 1,000 years, the Vatican maintained a political stranglehold on all of Europe, leading to such joyous periods as the Dark Ages, along with enlightening events such as the Crusades and the Inquisition. Christianity, along with all other related theologies, is an historical fraud. These religions now serve to detach the species from the natural world, and likewise each other. They support blind submission to authority. They reduce human responsibility to the effect that God controls everything, and in turn awful crimes can be justified in the name of a divine pursuit. And, most critically, it empowers the political establishment who have been using the myth to manipulate and control societies. The religious myth is one of the most powerful devices ever created, and it serves as the psychological soil upon which other myths can flourish.
A myth is an idea that, while widely believed, is false. In a deeper sense, in the religious sense, a myth serves as an orienting and mobilizing story for a people. The focus is not on the story's relation to reality, but on its function. A story cannot function unless it is believed to be true in the community or the nation. It is not a matter of debate. If some people have the bad taste to raise the question of the truth of the sacred story, the keepers of the faith do not enter into debate with them. They ignore them or denounce them as blasphemers.
It is wrong, blasphemous, and sinful for you to suggest, imply, or help other people come to the conclusion that the U.S. government killed 3,000 of its own citizens.
Okay. At this point, they're going to be talking about, this is part 2 that's coming up, and he's going to be talking about the 9/11. and how the government did a lot of big deception there. We know with that whole story. But I will stop here because that's all he had to deal with the religion on this area. So he's getting to that part, and then after that he talks about the monetary system, how money is put together. So it dismantles everything, because people believe certain things about how money is put together. If so, you want to study all that. He gives you a lot of information. This guy did quite a research, and so he tries to dismantle all that. And in a way, he was talking about, for example, I tell you, like any religion that presents to you the Aleph is the Torah to get the mindset of God, and if Jesus said that I am the way, the truth, and the life to bring you to the Father, a lot of people think that means he's going to take me to heaven over there and I'm going to meet the Father over there. That's how they interpret that. No, it's to meet the Father in the here and now. Even in chapter 17 of the book of John, in the Gospel of John, he's talking about, he's praying. Now, the only prayer of Jesus that's recorded, there's a long prayer, that he wants them to be in touch, become one with the Father, like he is one with the Father. He wants that for that in the here and now. As far as my understanding of that in that gospel, the Gospel of John. So, but a lot of the so-called teachers of Christianity nowadays, all this thing, they teach you something about the hope that waits when you leave this world and stuff like that. You can escape hell, and so it has nothing to do with raising the esteem of the word to the highest level, and understand that that this is the word that you have in you that is sacred. And that you have to line it up with the mindset of your Maker. And when you study the alphabet of the Torah, it's for that purpose. So in all circumstances, you are a complete being, And when you exercise your soul and your body into fasting and all of that, you understand how complete you are. All the things that this world tells you that you need are really insignificant. They hold no sway or power over you. Okay, so this is basically what I wanted to share with you. So you can watch this movie, and at the end, when you see the 31, the solution that he wants to create a paradise out of, with all the technology that we have right now, with all free solar energy and everything like that. So he wants to create something also in the future. So he doesn't have an answer. He himself is finding what's wrong with everything, but he himself doesn't have an answer to enjoy the life, in full satisfaction in the here and now, And that's the whole idea, to get that, a grasp a hold of this, That's why the way I conduct these things, I don't do it like religious, I don't collect money. I will never will. I will not collect money from the people that I'm giving these free lessons to, I might end up writing a book and stuff like that and presenting seminars of that book. And for that, I will collect a fee, so the people that I will go present the seminars. But the people I'm like in this here, the way I do is, this is the riches of my soul that keeps me complete and wholesome and always enjoying life. And that's what I'm sharing with you. That's the riches of my soul. And I also happen to give some of my money away, And it's not that I'm making a lot of money. I'm just making $15 an hour, minimum wage, like everybody else is here in California right now. But with that, because of my lifestyle, I have a little extra money that I give it away every week. You see? And so this to show you that you don't have to be a rich person to do this. You just got to be completed your Maker, and your Maker makes you so useful to do many things that has all sources of revenue that come your way and you don't even imagine, So you always have more than you expect to have, So this is very fantastic to have this existence, And there's nothing to worry about the future because you are in the body of revelation, with this, what your Maker gave you, this word, and that word, once you line it up with Him, it's an eternal joy indeed, even in the here and now. And you can understand in all circumstances that the people are going through, it doesn't matter to you. You look Habakkuk. You got to read the book of Habakkuk. He was complaining to God because the rich seemed to have it easy. They were getting whatever they wanted to. But in the end, we understood his purpose for existence was to carry the T.O.R.A.H in him, to carry the Torah in him. So, and then he understood, I don't care what happens with the olive tree. I don't care what happens with my surrounding. I'm established in him. I know where I'm standing now. Okay, because we were made to be true to the bar that is in us and to lift it up to the highest useful employment that we can give it, and that is to live in the mindset of the Maker. Okay, so this was a little thing that I wanted to share with you quite a while ago, but I thought it would be the time to do it today. But in any case, let me finish here with let me find a little commercial to finish here with, and then I'll close this here. Let me see here what am I playing. Alright, let me see. The monarch. Okay. Yeah, have a little commercial to close it here. And